Leetcode practice time. In this video there are two goals. The first goal is to see how to solve this problem. We are going to do some solution finding, and then we are going to do some coding after that. And the second goal is to see how you should behave in a real interview. So let's get started. So in a real interview, the first step is always try to understand the problem. If there is anything unclear, please bring up the question, and at the same time think about some edge cases. So let's take a look at this question. Insert, delete, and get random all one. So implement the randomize the set class. It has three APIs: insert, remove, and get random. So insert is going to insert an item value into the set. If not present, returns true if the item was not present, false otherwise. So remove the value from the set if present, returns true if the item was present, otherwise it's false. So get random, return random element from the current set of the element, and each element must have the same probability of being returned. Alright, so could you implement the function of the class where each function works in average of 01? That's fine. So let's see some constraints. So there will be at least one element in the data structure with GetRandom when the GetRandom is called. Okay, so at most 800k for insert, remove, or GetRandom. So the value is between the max value of integer and the smallest value of integer. So let's see how it say. So it says insert an item if not present. Okay, so for the insertion, are we expecting, so my question is, are we expecting, like, suppose we insert two number which are the same, then when we remove it, should we remove it completely, or should we just say, okay, we have two of the same number before, but you just remove one, so one of them, so we still have one within the set. So let's read through this in a more let's read through this example. It says insert, remove, insert, and get random. So this insert one, then remove two, and then insert two, and then you remove one, remove two. Okay, so it didn't say anything about the removal. So let's see the remove. So remove an item value from the set if present. Return true if present, otherwise it's false. So it seems like to me, yeah, so it seems to me that we just treat like two insertion on the same stuff as just one. So it seems like we don't allow duplicate numbers to be exist in the set. So let's treat as that as a assumption to start with. Then let's do some let's see how to solve this problem. So for this, I would say insert is fine. So if you just use a list, let's say it's array list. Let's see, insertion is going to be average is 01. So removal, if we just try to remove in the middle, so it is going to be horrible. So instead, what we could do is we could switch the current element with the last element and then do the removal. Then the remove is going to be taking all of 1 for that. So get random, for get random, it's going to be all of 1 for sure. So essentially, it's just that the removal that's gonna be a bit tricky. Like we need to do a switch with the last number, and then we are going to remove the last element. So that I think that's fine. And also it says like we need to return true or false. So at the same time, I think we need to have a hash set to tell whether the number exists or not. or maybe actually it is a hash. So it is a hash map, because if we want to do a switch, we need to know the position of the number. So those would be the integer and the index for within the hash map. Okay, so having said that, all of them is going to be O1 in average. Let's see how to code. So the coding part, we care about the correctness of the code, the readability of the code, and of course, don't be too slow. So first of all, we define the private members. Let's say we have the list, integer as a list, and we have the let's say this is the integer, and this is an integer as well. This is num index. So for randomize the constructor, it would be like, first of all, we have the array list. Then for the num index, it's going to be new hash map. Yep. And for while insertion, first of all, it returns true if the set didn't already contain the specific element. So if it contains, then we return true. If it contains, we return false. Otherwise, we return true. So if num index dot contains key. So if it already contains a value, then we are just going to return false. Otherwise, we need to put it into the list. So list dot add the value, and you're going to have the num index dot put this is a value. So if the corresponding index is list dot size -1. Yes, that is the corresponding index, and also we are going to return true here. So let's first implement the GetRandom. So for GetRandom, it's going to be quite easy. So we are going to say return. Let's define another thing. Let's say the random. Let's say rand. Otherwise, we need to new a new instance for it every time we call GetRandom, which doesn't make sense. So you have the random. It's new. So we are going to return rand dot next int. This is num, or just list dot size. So essentially, we need to get the corresponding number at the index. So list dot get yep. So that's get random. And the next thing is to have remove. So for removal, first of all, we need to see so first of all, we need to get the index of it. So let's say the index, while index is equal to, okay, so it may not really exist in the map. So if not num index dot contains key, if it doesn't contain the key, then we're just going to return false without doing anything. Otherwise, we need to get the index of the element. So now index dot get the value. So this is a index, and then we are going to do a switch with the last element. But before that, we need to see if value index is not the last one. If value index is not equal to list dot size -1, then it means we can just start and do a switch before we remove the last one. So let's say we do a swap between value index and what is that? Value index and num index dot size -1 for the array list. So we are going to define some helper function. Let's call it swap. So the swap is going to swap the IDX1 into IDX2. So we are going to say, okay, int so in temp at list dot get IDX1 is this, and we are going to say list dot set the IDX1 should be list dot get IDX2. So we do a switch, and after that you have list dot set IDX2 as a temp. So we finished the swap for the list, and we also need to do a swap for the map as well. So we would need to say, okay, so actually we need to, I think we need to get a num1, num2. So num1, let's say this is num1 and this is num2. So we will have we will set index 1 as num2 and the index 2 as num1. And also we need to switch the index in the map. So we are going to say, alright, so index dot put IDX1 to be num2 IDX1, and we are going to have in num index dot put num1 IDX2. So after you finish the switch, we just need to return. So so after we do the swap, what we are going to do is we are going to remove the last thing. So we are going to say this is list dot remove. I think it's about the index, right? So it is list dot size -1. Yeah. So, and we are also going to say, all right. So the num index dot remove the value. So that's it for most of the operations, I think. So after you're done with coding, you should do some testing. So usually you go through some examples and explain how this piece of code is gonna work, and then maybe so, and then you will, at the same time, you will fix the logic within the code. But since this is a runnable platform, let's just depend on it to help us to do the debugging. Alright, so some compare for, okay, so some typo here. Alright, another typo, line 61. What is that? Oh, okay, so here we should return true. Alright, so it seems like it's accepted. Let's do a submission for it. Alright, so everything works fine. So that's it for the solution of this question. So if you have any question about the coding or about the solution or about the puzzle, feel free to leave some comments below. If you like this video, please help subscribe to this channel. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.